Hello, everybody. I'm Candid Stanisci of NLL Lacrosse Talk. Welcome to the Spanglish World Network on Zingo TV, channel 250. Please remember to download the Zingo TV app at the respective app stores for iOS and Android devices. While you download, make sure you rate and leave a comment. Both apps are absolutely free. Zingo TV is available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire TV sticks, Roku sticks, and also on all smart TVs 2016 forward. Now joining me with our co-host Gary Groob is our special guest, Jeff Klodzen, former NLL All-Pro. So this guy has played lacrosse, I guess, is a safe assumption. Jeff, we always start with the first question is always about what brought you to pick up a stick.
Oh man, I started our school in elementary school when I was in second grade. They got a shipment of all these Indian strung heads, sticks rather, and I got a lacrosse ball and I started throwing it against the wall, and from that point on, I was hooked. So from the second grade on.
Now, what when you say hooked, what was the main reason you feel that you really delved into it?
I don't know what it was about it, but I picked it up really quickly. I'm naturally left-handed, but I do all my sports right-handed, and I was
Okay.
able to do it left-handed and right-handed with a little, I don't know, just a little easier than the other kids were doing it, and it just became something that I just always liked to do, and as soon as I could play lacrosse, I was signed up and ready to go.
Well, it's nice to know you were good friends with my friend ambidextrous.
Ambidextrous, yes, absolutely.
I'm actually the same. I'm left-handed, and I do everything sports-wise right-handed too. So,
really, yeah.
Lacrosse, I was able to do both hands as well. So, yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, and that's what kind of kept me in the league for as long as I played, because if you can play left on the left side or the right side, and you can you can finish, you can shoot, and then play in defense. If I'm up top on the left side or the right side, I can get in the passing lanes, and it really helped me out throughout my career.
Yeah, if you were to this is the last question about how you got involved.
Mm-hmm.
What in your mind is the best reason for playing lacrosse? What, looking back, the most beneficial thing that you find you experienced because you played lacrosse?
It's always the camaraderie. It's always the teammates. It's making great friends, lifetime friends for the rest of your life. Just people that are really close to you. And when you go through the battle, of playing games, tough games, and everything, it just enhances those friendships.
That's great, and that's a great promo for the game, which is what we're here for.
Absolutely.
And so, Gary, I'm sure you might have a question for him.
One or two, anyways. I want to go much further back. I want to go around. In high school, your West Genesee High School, you're playing lacrosse there. Talk a little bit about that program, because that obviously kept you involved and kept you interested to move forward.
Oh yeah, absolutely. When you talk about West Genesee, you have to start the conversation with the head coach, and that his name is Mike Masser. He's 3 years retired now, but he was just the best coach you could ever have in anything. When we played, we were completely prepared. And when I say that, we were prepared to a fault. We knew every play to make. If the ground ball was going this way and you scooped it up, the guy that was going to receive the pass from you knew where to be. And it just, so we won, I never lost a game in high school. We won state championships. My senior year, my junior year, we had 11 NCAA All-Americans
Wow.
that came out of West Genesee.
That's amazing. That's quite a team.
Yeah.
Okay, so you move on and you go to Cortland for college, and you have quite a career there.
I was three-time All-American. I played defense, and my first year I played defensive midfield, and then my last 3 years there I played closed defense. Always had the good stick skills, and so that kind of really helped after college when I got the invite to try out, and I'm sure we'll get to this, but when I tried out for the NLL, I was able to make the change from long stick to short stick pretty seamlessly.
Right. I was going to ask you. Yeah.
How important? I was just going to ask. While you're talking about upstate New York, wine country, what is it about that community that takes? Because you're not alone. There's a lot of lacrosse players from that area. It's country, wine country. There's a lot of open spaces.
Yeah, when I was, it's just amazing to look at the game now and then think about it back when I was playing it. There were only like 4 or 5 teams that were competitive when I was playing, and we would have to go play different sections of the state, to play good teams. But now it's just grown by leaps and bounds. And I go back to Coach Masser. He really set the formula, and that was getting youth leagues going. That was actually, we had 3 full fields, and then we had the rink with the carpet down, and we could play a little box lacrosse in there. Mm-hmm. And this is when we were young, so I had an advantage over a ton of U.S. players when it came to the NLL. Yeah.
Well, I was going to talk about just being a long pole player. Did you find that to be much of an advantage while you're doing that? Because you're able to do both, right?
Yeah, it was. I really had to. I started playing long pole when I was in. It was my JV year, 10th grade, and developed stick skills. Again, there was a big onus on practicing our stick skills with the coaches, and I love taking the ball away from people, and coming up with different checks and butt digs and slim jims and semis and over the head backwards, over the head frontwards. I had a blast playing defense, but I like to score goals too. So I was able to play forward in the NLL.
Right. Right. That leads me to a question of now, because we've talked about this with a number of guys. The pigeonholing of kids when they're young, being stuck at defense and being specifically there, offense specifically there. Do you think that curtails some of them from actually advancing?
Oh yeah, I definitely do. I always see. I look at it as a lot of the onus is on the player himself too. If you want to be good at anything, and you really have to have a burning desire for it and go after it, and do the extra things to be the best player that you can. You have to just want it. You have to want to have that burning desire to be as good as you possibly can be. I have no problem with kids trying out different positions, but you want them there for the right reasons. You don't want them there because their parents want them to be there and things like that. So, but that's to your point though. I don't think it hurts to have them play different positions. But I see where you're going. If they get stuck in a position that they don't like to play, sooner or later they're probably not going to want to participate.
Also, for the game itself, being a transition player is probably more beneficial to them and for their teams, because if they're caught, they have to know what to do, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yep, absolutely. And that's why I'm really just kind of, excited about the new Olympic thing, the sixes. Because when I watch NCAA lacrosse, I really think that the deep holes, and I play defense, so and I'm going to criticize the position right now. I think it's really a lot of stop-start things, whistle here, you get the sub in and all this other stuff. Why not just make it, the sticks have to be X in length, and you put the best athletes out there. And if you can't play defense with the same size stick as everybody else, why you're relying on a longer pole to play defense. So I think the people with the best feet, best athletes should be out there, competing.
So what you're talking about is you're unnecessarily complicating the game by doing that.
I think so. Yeah, I do.
And simplify it, like Gary's intimating, which is every player should find their ability, because as perfect as coaches are, they see a strength in a player. It may not really be their strength down the road. Right. And then even players who do what they want to do aren't necessarily doing what they can do best.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, so an opportunity for people to grow within the game, which is all part of having fun and keeping them in the game.
Yes, absolutely. You got to have fun to play, and to want to play, and you can see it. Like I coach my son, who's a little left-hander, and he likes to finish around the goal and do behind the backs and stuff like that already. um, and it's great. We coach these kids, and they just want to be there. They want to be there for every second. They want to try different things, and that's when it's great. That's when you just they're just looking for everything you can throw at them to teach them.
So we heard your opinion.
Yeah.
We reviewed your opinion, and you substantiated it with your son's experience. So we've done the complete circle on that
Nice.
question, Gary. Next.
Absolutely.
Awesome. I want to move over to your Mount Washington years, and you had three lacrosse national championships with them. We've had a couple of guys on from that team. Talk about the era. Talk about the team. That was some amazing times.
We had a first midfield of Paul Gate, Gary Gate, and Rob Scheck. And Rob played at Towson and could shoot the ball 105 lefty or righty. Gary and Paul, obviously, I mean, they just made it a circus out there. And we had Tommy Marichak on attack, and Mark Millen as well. We had Dave Petramala on defense. We had Quint Kesnich in the goal. I played up top on defensive midfield with Brian Volker from Johns Hopkins. And we had Ron Klausner from Mount Washington, or from Towson, that played
Right.
defense. We were, back then we had just a very, very, very good team.
I think you've been the missing piece. We've had almost everybody from Mount Washington on. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it was great.
That's a pretty incredible team. I can only imagine being on the opposing team thinking, this is what I have to play today.
Well, you would see things that you would never, those guys did things that, other guys just can't do.
Yeah.
When you're 6'4" and you run like a 4.5, and you can just knock people over, and then you also had the stick skills that these guys have. It was just, it wasn't fair a lot of times. You're right.
Yeah, but it's great to play on a team with those kinds of guys on them, because they help spread the ability, the knowledge, and the technique. Nothing teaches technique better than an example.
Oh yeah,
I mean-
absolutely. And the one thing about Mount Washington, if you really wanted to see the best lacrosse, you would come on Tuesdays and Thursdays when we had practice.
Oh boy.
The practices were insane. The practices were, the matchups you would see out there. And I would get more out of practice than the games most of the time, because I was like, whoa, I went over the head and took the ball from Gary Gate. Holy cow. And that would keep me happy until Thursday. And then he'd probably beat me 7 times, so it was, that was, looking back, it was the best time of my life back then. I was playing NLL, during that season, and playing club ball with Mount Washington.
And now enter the mill, I guess it would be.
Major indoor lacrosse.
Yeah. And how did you get in there?
Well, I got to know Dave Petramala, Ronnie Klausner, and a bunch of Maryland guys that came up to Syracuse for this tournament we had every year. And we ended up playing we were the Syracuse Molson All-Stars. Paul and Gary got some kind of deal with Molson, and we got all great equipment and gear and all this other stuff. And we played the Team USA in the championship, and it was a really good game. They ended up scoring a couple at the end, and Gary and Paul were unbelievable in that game. And it just kind of put me on the map a little bit, because I played really well in that tournament. And, these guys were like, you got to come down to Baltimore. You got to play lacrosse in Baltimore if you love it that much. And I was there for 14 years after that tournament. I moved down to Baltimore.
Right.
A long cup of coffee.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Gallons.
Yeah, but those are pretty good guys to get you to convince to move yourself down to Baltimore.
Well, and they asked me to move down there, and they took me in, and I lived with them. So yeah, great guys. I mean, that's the thing about, the best parts about lacrosse,
Right.
the camaraderie.
So let's talk a bit about Mill itself. Like we've had a number of guys on there. We've had the
Yeah.
Kilgores, we've had a few other guys in there. We've had Mark Millen, we've had Tony Millen, we've had all these guys on, and
Yep.
everybody seems to come across as at the wild, wild west of lacrosse back then.
Mill, yeah, I think when you look back then, it was a lot hairier than once after the it was the NLL. It got a little bit more skillful towards the end of my career than the first couple of years when I played. I mean, it was cross checks to the head, and I mean, no calls. I mean, there was nothing. I mean, and no one expected to get them the call, and we expected to get hit. So there was a lot. Yeah, there was a lot of I just look back on like some of those games, like the Wings versus the Bandits in Dallas, coming out and just wrecking Tavares. And I was like, holy cow, man. I mean, somebody's going to kill somebody in this game. I mean, the Kilgores are going to literally take somebody out and kill them. That's what I thought.
Yeah, I could see it. I could see that.
Yeah, no,
the problem is Gary could like it. That's the real problem.
Well, yeah, well, I don't know how many trips I took to Buffalo to make sure I caught Bandits games in the 90s.
It was insane.
Crazy in the Memorial Arena. Like,
yeah.
Just
we played him in the old Odd.
Oh,
God. That's
yeah. Yeah, okay.
14,000 seats.
I'll never forget it. I had a penalty shot. The place was going crazy. And they're going tool time, because that was the goalie, Patty O'Toole.
Oh, okay.
And luckily, I put it in, and I just stood and I pointed to each section and did this shh to everybody, and they're like just going nuts. And that was one of the highlights of my playing career, was that Buffalo penalty shot, because it was fun. It was fun to score.
Pro wrestling mixed in with lacrosse, because you got the showmanship out of that.
Oh yeah, definitely, no question.
Yeah, a little different than it is now, where player safety is, and nobody's going to say that that's not a good idea, but it was a different time and a different expectation when you entered onto the floor, huh?
Yeah, no question. I mean, it's just there's a lot more protective stuff for the guys nowadays. I mean, like you said, it's good. It's good for the game and everything like that, but it was just a different era. It was different, it was more like hockey. I mean, really. I mean, I played hockey my whole life. My nephew plays, as Gary knows, plays for the Flyers. Okay. And, it was just more of that stuff. I mean, if somebody took a cheap shot on somebody, you had a guy just going nuts after him and wants to, you got to stick up for your teammate, So that was it. And, it still is a lot of times when, even nowadays, watching some of the NLL games, they'll still stick up for folks and things like that. But it was just more. I mean, there were more bench clearing brawls, and I'll never forget playing Detroit. Pat Coyle was. There was a fight, and I just was walking past it. I just wanted to get off the floor. And Pat Coyle jumps over the boards and just grabs me and starts going at it with me, and we're fighting. He gets my helmet off. I finally get his helmet off, and I'm like, "What did I do? I just walked by the bench. That's all I was doing,
Right. Wrong place, wrong time.
That would be fun.
Guy to mess with too,
Did you look back at him and say, "What was that for?" Just what was that about?
There's a Bud Light commercial that right at the very end, it shows us getting broken up, and I'm yelling at him. I'm like, "What the hell was that? Why did you do that?"
That's great.
Yeah. Gary, I'll send that to you. You'll get a kick.
Please, I love it. That's amazing. Okay, so playing with Pittsburgh, let's talk about some of the memories you had there, because of course it's long gone. Yeah, I had a couple of retro games I was able to put up of the polls and stuff. It was pretty fun to watch.
I'll tell you. I'll give you a funny Pittsburgh story. This I don't know if you know Johnny Wilson from out west. He played for the Salmon Bellies, and he moved to Baltimore. He played on Pittsburgh with me. And before the game, we snuck into the Penguins locker room, and we got a roll of tape from Lemieux's locker. Mario Lemieux's locker, and we each taped our butt end with it. I scored the first goal of the game. He scored the second goal of the game. And we were like, oh my God, dude, that we got Mario's tape on, man. That's what this is. But it was a good, the one thing about playing for Pittsburgh was we all lived in Baltimore.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't live in Pittsburgh. So we had to fly both ways. We flew everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But again, played with a great group of guys. We didn't win much, but we usually won the after night party. Pretty good.
Nice. I was asked to ask you about spandex.
Oh yeah, spandex. You had to go with 2 pairs. You couldn't go with 1 pair because that was just a little too revealing. So yeah, I had a picture from I can't remember what it was, All Across America or something like that. Did an interview and I sent a picture of me in the spandex and it kind of circulated around. So yeah.
That's funny.
Those are our unis, tight spandex. Oh, awful.
That's crazy. Awful. Now, what we're looking at now, players are starting to make money now. The PLL is helping that along and getting benefits. What was it like back then, money-wise?
Money-wise, when I played for the Pittsburgh Bulls, my check that whole season was $125 a game. And I got after taxes, it was like $86, and I cashed it at PJ's Pub, right in Baltimore, and that's where we had lunch and hung out, and that's all I made. But then my 10th year, I was getting $1,000 a game, which was pretty cool. I mean, they're making more now, but for me back then, I worked, I had a job, I wasn't just playing lacrosse, so. That was just all fun money when I got $1,000 a game,
Sure.
Yep. The tab.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, Tony Millen always put it out as well. The people outside in the pubs didn't know we were only making, peanuts. So
that's Tony's a really good friend of mine. And yes, he would do that. He was always like, hey man, the ladies here, they think we're making like $5 million a year. I'm like, yeah, well, sooner or later that's gonna be found out one way or another,
Oh God,
Tony's still the only one to stop us dead on the show.
He's something else.
He's funny.
Yeah, he's just a little out there.
If I remember correctly, he called us in from his canoe.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah.
Well, he also
see where we went from there, right?
Oh my God. We also though had Tony Millen got traded to the Syracuse Smash when I played for Syracuse, and Tony was on the Smash, and so I was talking to Mark outside the arena, and he's like, "Well, where's Tony? Where's Tony?" And I go, "He's in there." He was wearing like a corduroy vest and no arm pads or anything, and practicing in just this corduroy vest. And Mark was like, "Oh my God, are you serious? I got to deal with this." So, and Mark's all clean cut, and and I think he had hiking boots on instead of sneakers. Yeah, Tony had hiking boots, and his brother was just like, "I can't believe I got to play with this guy again."
That's crazy. That's why. So for a defensive guy to become an offensive guy in the NLL, your numbers were great. You obviously transitioned really easily into offense. Was it as easy as it seemed?
Going back to like Shove Park when I was a kid, like I told you, Mike Masser, he had the rink, and and I played hockey my whole life, so I knew the bounces, and the stick skills I had, like a good left hand, it was, probably as good as my right hand. And, I threw a lot of fakes. I know how to get goalies moving, and coming off my favorite was, just pulling them off of the crossbar and putting it over their head or over their shoulder. And, I had a pretty good shot and good sticks, good enough skill sets to get the goalie moving, and I don't know. It worked out. I was good enough athlete to do it for that long. And with the stick skills, I could play either side. And that really kept me in the league as long
Right.
as long as I was in it.
And you made it to the finals. You made it once to the finals, right? The NLL finals.
Yeah, we got beat by Philly. We had Gary on our team in Baltimore, and they just mugged him every possession. Mugged him. I mean, and they couldn't blow enough whistles, and so we lost by 1, and they had won the first game in Philly, and we ended up losing it. So
right,
bummer. Yeah.
The
Still,
difference
actually, that's
between
pretty.
playing, hang on a sec, Gary. The difference between offense and defense. Do you have to think less playing offense and more, even though you're initiating stuff, you're not thinking as much? While on defense, you have to, I don't know, run stuff through your head while the game's going on.
Well, yeah, I think by playing defense in college and knowing, how to slough off people, like know where they are, but be able to make a play in another, to disrupt another play. And, having that defensive background, you want to get to the point where you're not like trying things out on defense. It's just that your body just does it out of, reps from doing it and knowing exactly, how to, this guy's pick and rolling here. I'm going to shove the guy so he can't even set the pick. I'm going to shove that guy out so he can't. And then I got, I'm right there. And then he can, my other guy can come in and take the guy that I shoved out. So it just, you had to defend the pick and roll. You had to do that playing indoor lacrosse.
Right.
So the best thing to do on offense was the double pick. You set the first pick and you're not really picking that, that you're not really trying to score there, but you set that one pick and then turn back and then blast them the other way. And you get a lot of guys open that way. Right. So, I just was built good for doing pick and rolls, and being able to handle it and knock people out and get space that way. But defense, to your point though, defense, I think both, if you practice enough and you love the sport enough, it'll come to you. It's, we're all very fortunate when it does happen like that. You end up going and playing in the pro leagues and stuff like that. But, you're just playing, you're playing on offense, trying to do the best you can to get the defense moving, set good picks, get good shots, trying to get shots from the middle of the floor. I can't stand when guys take shots from either side and ding, ding, ding. It goes all the way around the boards. It's fast break, jail break the other way. Yeah. So, you want to score right in that square in front. You want to be able to see both pipes, and shoot off the pipes. That's, shoot up and down the pipes. That's what I always thought. Overhand, up and down. So
now your career comes to an end.
Yeah.
And we transition into coaching. How did you get into coaching?
Well, I coached for 1 year. I coached the Bayhawks in the NLL, and that was with. I'm trying to think if Gary was a player coach at that time or not, but so I helped out in just on the defensive end, and then that was probably like 2 years before I moved back home to Syracuse. And I haven't been really doing any coaching up here other than with my son. I coach his hockey. I coach his lacrosse. So,
but that Bayhawks thing, yeah, Gary Gate was a player coach, but you also had John Blashley, Dave Huntley, Craig Campbell. What a staff! What a great way to get your foot.
John Blashley's a great friend of mine, and Hunts was great. Rest his soul, great guy. Coached me for 2 years in the NLL, stuck up for his players. He was totally a player coach. He would want to bite the head off the opposing coach. I mean, he would just go nuts. We loved every second of it. Great guy, just a great guy.
Now, being with the MLL now being part of the PLL, what do you think about the whole transition and how everything has worked from there? And no home teams and just the whole setup of the PLL.
I think it's working. I think it's working. I think going back, I think it would be great to have everybody playing with the same length stick and make it even faster. It's really fast as it is. I think Paul Rabel and his brother are smart guys, and I think they'll be very successful. I think they already are with this thing. I mean, they got ESPN, they got to make a bigger commitment than they did. So I think I think it'll, it's good for the game. It's great for the game.
Right. But you already had ESPN when you guys were doing Mill, right? You had the ESPN Game of the Week and things like that. So are we trying to get back to where we were, or are we actually moving forward in here?
Well, we were on ESPN too.
Right.
And it was on TV. I don't know. I don't know if I don't really know that much about the PLL. I've caught games on TV and everything, and I know some of the. I've watched some of the guys play and things like that. I know more of the coaches now than I do the players for sure.
Sure.
But I've watched games, and I think it's really good it's great for the college kids that are coming up to have that kind of, as a next step opportunity if they can, if they show that they're good enough. But we didn't have that in field lacrosse, but we had it in box lacrosse, and so.
Right.
That was the best thing for me. I liked box better than field. I love it. It just suited me perfectly, playing indoor. So, and not that I didn't like playing field, I did, but it was. I like playing both. I guess is what it is. You go to a field and I'm playing.
Box lacrosse is a little more personal.
Yeah, I agree. That's good point.
Now, you played in one of the All-Star games or a couple of the All-Star games. The PLL has an All-Star game, it has an All-Star weekend, and it was very successful last year, even though still dealing with COVID. I can only imagine what they're going to do for a weekend. Do you think the NLL should get back to doing, now that they have the TV contracts as well with TSN and ESPN, get back to doing an All-Star weekend?
I had a blast. I had a great time. It was in Rochester. The best part about it was you could be either picked by the coaches or you got in by the peer vote. Like your peers would vote on it. I got in on the peer vote, and I thought that was really special, because I'd rather have other players dominate me than what a coach thinks. And but we had it was sold out at Rochester before the game started. Everybody got to go. They'd get 5 shots on one of the goalies, and I got Dallas and went 0 for 5. I was like, "Thanks, Dallas. You can't let one of them in. Come on, buddy." So, but yeah, I mean, we had a great time. I think the fans get excited with that kind of thing. I think they should probably make it, like you said, like a game on Sunday night maybe, and Saturday has skills type stuff, Yeah,
I think it would work great, especially now when you have main like ESPN, TSN, main cable to expose this. We're trying to build it. Why not show the best of the best doing what they're good at? I think that'd be amazing.
Yeah, I think that'd be great.
Yeah, and you pointed out earlier with your son doing the behind the back kind of thing. That's the kind of stuff that is great advertising for the game, right? It's the stuff that kids especially, because the whole trick to making a sport popular, successful, and economically viable is you've got to get the youth interested, right? And the youth want to have fun, right?
Oh, no doubt. And that's the gate effect. That's the Gary and Paul effect.
And that's what they've done with All-Star games across all the sporting endeavors, right? They've made the All-Star game not about a game, right? Because we all get the idea the game doesn't really mean anything. Exactly. So rely on the rest.
What was the NHL, like 14-13 or something?
Yeah.
You don't got to worry about it.
I mean,
it's like playing touch football for the pro game, right? It's just
exactly.
Whatever. With 300 points in basketball, it's about exposing just the highlight stuff. And just as a point of reference, you take a look at, since it's gone on ESPN or gone on TSN, how many goals that have been scored throughout the season have made their ESPN top 10 highlights. I've seen it again and again and again. The next morning I'm watching, and there's at least 1, if not 2, out of those 10, they're lacrosse goals. Westberg is a good example. He's continually on there. He's diving and twisting and shooting behind the back. And
he's something. He's a good player. Fun to watch.
It's what sells the game.
Dobie or something like that. Yeah, it's just incredible. So to be able to expose that in these competitions, because let's say the PLL, one of the most interesting things to me was, you're always talking about how hard a shot it is. When we're watching, I don't know, I think it was Costabile, and it's a 117-mile-an-hour shot. It's like to a goalie with no equipment, thanks, but no thanks.
Wow. Does he shoot it with a long stick?
No, I think he used regular stick. It was just incredible to watch this, and I think he lost by like half a mile per hour or something like that. It was the most ridiculous thing I'd watched, and it just, whoa! It stopped me dead in whatever I was doing. It was a must-see TV all of a sudden. And if it stops me in my tracks, imagine somebody who's never seen this before.
Oh, exactly. That's how it grows. It grows. I mean, you look at women's lacrosse. It's it's just crazy. My daughter plays that too. So the game's growing. I think it's in great shape. I think there could be some tweaks. Like I said about the long poles, and I know I'll probably catch a bunch of heat for that. But
I'm thinking in a women's game, do you think they should play with pockets? Should they go with regular sticks as opposed to the non-pocketed stick, and maybe go into more of a male-oriented game? Because God, there's a lot of really athletic females, more athletic than a lot of the guys that I watch.
Yeah, and that's I'm glad you brought that up, because that's something that I had one of my pockets. I came up with a woman's pocket, and Warrior had they bought it from me, and I got royalties for a couple of years for it. And it was just making there was a little bit more pocket in the stick. But I think what would happen if you allowed any bigger of a pocket, then you'd see the girls wearing helmets. Then you'd see them wearing other kind of pads and stuff like that. So I think they want to keep it kind of traditional in some senses, but also show the growth of the sport. Right. And now, Gary, actually, I just saw Gary, and Gary Gate up at SU, and he gave me a stick for my daughter. And man, I can almost do everything with that stick that I can with a men's stick. Really? It's a great pocket. It's right in where you want it. And it's a woman's pocket. And I'm telling you, it's amazing how it holds the ball.
Well, just the same thing with tinkering with some of the rules of this, having to fire your stick on the ground after you score a goal, and some of the other things that don't really make much sense anymore to me.
I don't like that one either. Check it before the game and then stop it. Stop the nonsense.
Or check it randomly like they do in breaks in NLL, where they start measuring sticks and things. That's fine. But this idea of scoring a goal and in celebration, whoops, there you go. It's like, really? Do we still need to do that?
Exactly.
But the women's game is going leaps and bounds. We had a number of conversations with Michelle Boyer, who's head of women's lacrosse for World Lacrosse. And another one's really excited about the lacrosse sexes too, because it's going to be both sexes doing it, and it's going to be a great thing. Yeah. Now the PLL is also going to do that, and they're going to do it in February. They're to keep their word going, because of course field stops and you don't hear about it again for another 9 months before it picks up. But they decided that in February they're going to have a champions tournament, and they're going to use their top 4 teams, so to give them a little more incentive to finish up in the standings. But because a lot of their guys are NLL players, they're going to use player pool players, which works great. So a lot of guys who wouldn't get a sniff might be able to work themselves onto a roster. So when you're talking about the Ravens being smart and innovative, I think that's another prime example of, number one, they're going to keep their word 12 months a year. Yeah. Number two, they're going to get a lot of guys extra looks. But otherwise, you're talking about introducing Lacrosse 6 to the nation, and you have 5 years before LA.
Right.
And you'll be able to tinker with it to make it right, because of course we talked about it before, with Hollywood, you're going to have the best producers, so have them have a look at it. So when the Olympics come, we're going to put our best foot forward.
Yeah. No, it would take something. It takes something like that. It really does, to get it to grow exponentially from where it is now. It's just been steady Eddie, my lifetime in lacrosse, just everything's getting bigger and bigger and better and better. And people have learned from their mistakes. They don't have a team in Syracuse anymore. They knew nobody would go.
But they put one back in Albany, right? So, they're trying to retrace their steps.
I don't know. It makes no sense to me. I never knew why in Baltimore, why we wouldn't get the same kind of crowds as Philly, like why not? And we would get 2,500 and they'd get 22,000. So I don't know.
Yeah, but nothing breeds success more than, we talk about overnight success and what Gary talked about with getting ready for the Olympics. It's an opportunity for overnight success. Overnight success is a misnomer because it doesn't happen overnight. So the work that they do prior to the Olympics is going to be very important for the initial moment people get a chance to see lacrosse for the first time. And it'll be a lot of people that'll be, curiosity when it comes to the Olympics. That's the one thing I find, at least personally, and from my experience in talking to people, it's the curiosity about sports, looking for sports you haven't seen before. And because you're watching the best, at least you're watching quality, right? And that's where, right?
Definitely. And that's how ESPN started.
Right.
They were showing sports none of us saw, and it built. I mean, hey, a lot of them were, kicked to the curb, but there's a few things out there that have stuck.
Yeah, look at Australian rules football.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I love watching that when it's on.
Me too. Yeah. The problem is it's the middle of the night for us, though.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, the curiosity of the game, and it's grown so much. I mean, Japan's got a good team. England's got a really good team. Like you're going to see some teams beating teams that you never thought would happen.
Right. Well, we're in 78 countries now, right? So it's amazing how it's growing from a handful of countries to 78 viable countries.
Yeah,
and women in 50-something countries. It's incredible how the growth over the last
great
years.
And I don't know if you might be friends with the guys too from Uganda.
Yeah, I'm friends with a lot of those guys and Dave Libby as well. Yeah,
I love watching those videos when they have them. It's just, I mean, it's just at its most basic. And you see the love for the game from those kids playing it.
Well, they constantly message about tips and things like this and what they should do and drills, and so I try and give them whatever I've got for them. But
right, yeah,
and they're like sponges. They'll keep coming back for more. I tried this, I did that. Should I do this? It's great to listen to them and the love and the passion. And their biggest thing is equipment. They need equipment because the stuff that they do have is breaking down. I know that Johnny Davis, he's going to be a guest in a couple of weeks, John Davis Jr., he put together a big shipment of anybody who had lacrosse equipment they weren't using anymore and shipped it out there to Uganda to try and give them a bit of a hand. And I know he's still going to be doing things like that. So, the more stuff that they get, the better that program is going to become. But they're already well off as compared to a lot of those nations out there.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's really neat to see, something like that. It's great.
And their take on the game.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and they follow everything up here. They may not get a feed of anything, but they follow all the news and all the recaps and all the other things. So they're pretty versed with the players and things. And watching these shows, they're versed with the guys like you who were pioneers at it, and what you've done for the game too. So it's really amazing on how it's become a very wide spanned, complete circle on.
Yeah.
Being able to push it. And it's all brand new for them over there. So it's exciting too when you start listening to them and that excitement.
Yep. Yeah.
That's another reason why the Olympics are so important, because you get people or countries that are in the initial stages of playing lacrosse. And when it gets in the Olympics, it's back to what we said before, right? People don't know the game. And so it's a stamp of approval that we've seen, even here, with Canadian games like curling and such, right? The respect that it received, in the Olympics and how popular it is. That's the kind of thing we're looking at. I see lacrosse doing the same thing that curling's done. And curling isn't played in as many countries as lacrosse. So just imagine exponentially how crazy it could very well be the effect of the Olympics.
Yep. Yep. And I think the sixes game will be really exciting. And
it'll keep everybody interested, even the people who are already in lacrosse.
Well, you figure lots right? Lacrosse on a field, right? So that's going to be amazing.
Do you know how long the field's going to be? Exactly.
I know it's a cut down field. I'm not sure how much of a cut down field, but I know it's more towards the box game. Only played on field.
Just a little bigger. It's not going to be much bigger.
So that's
what we heard.
Crazy. I think that's going to be a pretty amazing thing.
It's going to be fast. It's going to be crazy. You're going to have to have crazy endurance, and Yeah.
Mhm.
Well,
yeah.
let me ask you a question.
Sure.
In regards to that, we talk about field of play, right? You're playing on a carpet indoors, you're playing on the grass outdoors, and you end up with basically the same size. What's footing like? Like how does that change the game? The grass is just a question out of my head. How does it change playing on grass as opposed to playing on turf?
I don't think the game itself. Well, it does change. It changes. Playing on natural grass, it's a slower game.
Mhm.
Okay, so the foot you don't have as much grip on your footing, right?
Yeah, well, I just think there's more grip, obviously, with the turf. So and
Right.
you can scoop up balls a lot easier on the turf.
Mhm.
Um, but it's the same for everybody. Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But still,
but
the
anyway,
point
I
that
know I get your point
no, I
definitely.
want to understand. I'm not trying to make a point. I'm trying to understand. So what I'm understanding is that with box lacrosse, you've got more of a consistent field of play. Whereas when you go outdoors, now you got to deal with everybody's different version of grass. Then you got to deal with, okay, did it rain last night or has it not rained? And you're in California, it hasn't rained in 3 months.
Right.
It's an interest. You're right. It's the same for everybody, but it does have a strange kind of, at least a subtle effect on the game. I'm not trying to put it down or raise it up. Just it's a different quirk for when you watch it. Because now when I watch that game, I'm going to have that in my head. Well, they're playing on grass. I wonder.
Right.
I wonder how they decided and why they decided on the game on grass as opposed to playing box lacrosse. Because the Olympics knows about hockey, knows about
Right.
basketball. They're played indoors, and I know that sometimes whether you play in the summer or the winter games is affected by whether you play indoors or outdoors. So I wonder if that had something to play with it too. So I'm really
Yeah.
curious,
Well, see, the thing is that the other thing is they most like outdoor games now are at least like the fields that they have are that new field turf,
Mhm.
right.
and it's more grass like, definitely, and it
Right.
was to prevent a lot of the knee injuries that
Yes.
people get. Um, so I don't think there's much of a difference when you're playing on the turf,
Ah,
the new turf that they have out
Mhm.
there. But there were a lot of horror stories about the turf that we used to play on
Yeah.
in the
mhm.
different rinks when we were in the MILL. I mean, they were like getting green duct tape in some areas and trying to just
Mhm.
piecemeal it. And like sometimes you could like one kid, this guy John Krummenacher played at Hopkins. He went under the carpet, broke his leg, and he was sitting his ass on the ice. And
Wow.
it was horrible. It was
Yeah.
horrible back then, and we took a lot of risks. There's no doubt
Yeah,
about
one of
it.
the big reasons why they ended that kind of turf, like in football, is turf toe, which
Yeah,
which basically, is just, the it's not an abrasion, it's worse, but that's what it has its roots in. Yeah,
yep.
so well, thanks for that. I just wanted to understand that a little bit more, because when we watch the game, the people who are going to be watching the Olympic game are going to also there's going to be people saying, they play that indoors too. Oh,
Yep.
by the way, it's a little more physical as well. So,
Yeah.
it's like the difference between watching European hockey and Canadian hockey. And now, I think what you'll be glad to hear is that the European hockey, they shrunk the rinks. They're shrinking the rinks because they
Are they
prefer more the
really?
yeah, they prefer the North American style. They're getting more North American. And
Oh,
and I and that's why I think the sixes is a great idea. I think because it's an international game, just like the size of the rink. But there's going to be people who are going to be playing that game and they're going to be curious about, well, that indoor game. What's up? So it could still have an impact on the indoor game, is what I'm trying to say.
right. Yeah.
That was my
Yeah.
long-winded tour.
No, I got you. I got you. Yeah. It was really cool to see where they have um, the world, like the box lacrosse championships,
Mhm.
Right.
you know, and I think, that's probably, I thought that, they should go with that for the Olympics is go with
Mhm.
box lacrosse, no
That's my
sixes,
nice.
no nothing.
Yeah.
Go out and play box lacrosse in whatever country you're from, try out, see if you can make the team, because
So
I think it's the perfect game.
then it
Like I
becomes
really
for
do.
guys then it becomes for guys like Gary is, okay, do I pick box lacrosse and let them know I'd rather it be box lacrosse because I think it's better? Or should I just go with all right, they're gonna have it at the Olympics, I'll go with the six. I'm okay with it, right? Because that's the battle that's going to be in people's heads, right? That love the game.
Sixes is exciting. I bet you it's going to be really, really exciting. But what's more exciting than a great indoor game?
Yeah,
It's true.
yeah,
It's true.
yeah. Because that's what the box lacrosse people are going to say. Well, you think that game's good?
Wait till you see this. Wouldn't it be something if we had something for Winter Olympics too? And we'll put boxing.
Well, I used to think that I'd be the best. If they had box lacrosse on ice skates, that would be now. That would really be perfect for me.
Oh
Well,
no, we heard roller
the
skates.
Super
We heard
Series
roller
when he was trying to
skates
get guys to
Philly.
roller skates. In the 80s.
No, that's what those the MILL
That's right.
guys, Russ
Yep,
Klein.
that was the
That's
original
right.
idea. Yeah.
They wanted to have us on roller skates and seeing if we could hit each other going 45 miles an hour or something.
That
Yeah,
would look like roller derby. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. You go to hit somebody in your own zone, you hit the boards on the other side. Stopping on roller skates is not easy.
Could you imagine if that's what they actually did? Oh my God.
Well, we wouldn't be talking about things now, would we?
Oh.
Just before we end, you got
Sure.
inducted into the Upstate New York Hall of Fame 2019. Talk about that honor.
That's where it all, that's where it all came together for me. It was one of those things where, I had to think back and take it all in and just think about the track, like everything that was involved and the different coaches I had, the teammates I had. And, and I'll go back to what I mentioned early on is, I had that drive to want all this. I wanted it. I wanted all of it. And I was, like a crazy man, but I was willing to do it. I was willing to do all the practicing and all the different reps you can get with any, Gary Gate would rent the Pairing Athletic Club down in Baltimore and he'd fly a goalie down and we would just do breakaways forever, nonstop. And I would just watch Gary. I'd be like, okay, he's, faking with his head like this and getting the goalie to move. And, that's where some of that came from. I would just watch him, but all those things culminated with it, college, after college, high school, my high school, my high school coach was there at the ceremony. And it was just, the culmination of just a great lacrosse career. I got everything out of it that I wanted. And so many people were involved, my parents, everybody, but it was just something I loved intently forever. And, now my son's involved, my daughter's involved, and it's just a blast. So
that's amazing.
Yeah. The humility is amazing, right? When you do something that you love for so long, and then all of a sudden people go, "Hey, by the way, you did it really well."
Yeah, and that's my wife's like, "You never say anything. You never tell people this." I'm like, I'm not telling people anything. If they find out something that I played lacrosse or did that and got this or got that, that's fine. But it's just I don't know. That's just the way it is.
Well, the people that you spent your life with playing the game, appreciating what you did, it's the family's approval, right? And who doesn't?
Oh yeah. Now I got competition with my nephew playing for the Flyers. I'm like, oh
yeah, of course.
But it's
who's your nephew? Who's your nephew?
Joel Farabee.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. Yeah. And but yeah, no, he's doing great. Nothing better than watching Flyers games now with him playing for the Flyers, even though we had a horrible season last year.
But nowhere to go but up now, right?
Yeah, exactly. And now Tortorella is
sports there. Yeah, I think you're well on the way to moving upward in the standings. So I would.
Yeah, I think so too. He holds people accountable, and I think they need that
very much, and they need that big time. They also need a goalie. They haven't had a goalie since Pelle Lindbergh. So
yeah, and Hart's a little overrated, I think.
Yeah, well, he looked good in his first sniff up there, and then people found out what he does.
I think the pressure to play goal in Philadelphia has been something that has been building for over a decade.
Yeah, it's
tough, right?
Yeah. I think there is something to that. Yeah. None of them. I mean, I think Hextall was the last one that kind of. But they got rid of him too.
He embodied the city. He'd chase you right to your car.
Oh, he would take baseball bat swings with his stick and his back. He was out of control.
Yeah, but he was no match for Felix Potvin.
Our time's up. I really want to thank you, Jeff, for taking the time with us. It was terrific.
Oh yeah, I really enjoyed it. Great meeting you, Frank.
Oh,
Gary,
nice meeting you too.
I'll definitely see you on Facebook, and you guys have a great rest of the day.
Thank you. You as well.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Gary. For Gary Groob
right.
and Jeff Klodzen, former NLL All-Pro, I'm Candid Frank Stanisci. Thank you for watching NLL Lacrosse Talk. Seen live Thursdays at 4 p.m., but today we had it at Friday at 2. This show can also be heard on the Spanglish World Radio Network. For lacrosse talk, news, entertainment, and other sports programming we offer, please check out spanglishworld.ca. Spanglish World. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you next Thursday.